Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A couple more mantras. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Giridhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna. Yeah, there's two rules in Krishna consciousness. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Those are the two rules. And the purport is, in order to be able to do that, accept everything favorable for Krishna consciousness and reject everything unfavorable. That's the purport. And then that's applied according to time, place, and circumstance. How to do that. Krishna, very dynamic. Krishna consciousness is very dynamic because it's a living reality. Krishna is a living God. Hare Krishna. Very dynamic. Krishna. So, you can understand and appreciate and everything, but then it comes down to, how do I fit in? Who am I in relationship to Krishna, Krishna's movement? How do I please my spiritual master? what I'm seeing is, in a very natural way, because of the situation I'm in, austerities. Austerity. It's very natural, feels very natural, and so not so much involvement in community development, because that's another kind of austerity. Rupa Goswami describes renunciation two ways. Well, to use everything in Krishna's service is also renunciation. So developing communities, having families, and raising beautiful children, and all of this is going on, and it's glorious. But I'm not situated like that. I'm more, renunciation for me means not doing that. And focusing more on tapasya. Now that's not something that most people will be attracted to or can do. Most people will be better with the other type of austerity, the other type of renunciation of getting married, having businesses, donating for Krishna consciousness, making nice temples, like that. Using things in Krishna's service. That will be a more accessible path for people in general, because it's things they're already doing anyway, working, having families, making money, and then just learn how to do all of that for Krishna. So that, I mean, giving up the fruits of your labor, that's also renunciation, yukta vairagya, and that's recommended by Rupa Goswami. But there is the other type of renunciation, the old-fashioned type, where you actually renounce everything. Because you're not involved. You're not involved in doing so many things with community development, and there's also facility for those people. And looking at accepting everything favorable for Krishna and rejecting everything unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, I fit more in the renunciation category. Not perfectly, but more I can deal with the illusory energy better from that position. So that's the path. It seems to be opening up, and I'll just keep heading in whatever direction helps me to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So this fast, I'm still fasting, it's 8 days. See, that's austerity. Just eating watermelon. Believe it or not, I still like watermelon. But there's a little bit of one of the melons left, so when that's gone, then I'll start eating more substantial foods. So 8 days, 7.5 days. But I like this mood of austerity. I really, really relish it. Why? Because I can just focus on Krishna. Not like I'm some big scholar or something, although it's the holy name, Krishna. Hey, Hare Krishna Nits, Hare Krishna. So just focusing on the holy name, Krishna. Think about it. At the time of death, what do you have? Do you have all your material assets? You have all your family members. At the time of death, you're forced to renounce them. The renunciation that a person was practicing in life by having those things and offering them to Kṛṣṇa is preparing them for when they actually have to just like goodbye, give them up. So there's two ways to approach this renunciation. And since I don't have like personal relationships, intimate this is my friend, or this is my, on a material level, or this is my children, or this is my husband, or, you know, on a material platform, I don't have that to practice offering them to Kṛṣṇa. So I'm just automatically in the renounced position. I'm just there. So it makes sense to continue on the activities, renounced austerities. So I'm thinking, well, gee, you know, I'm going to eat today, and that's the end of that austerity. Now what? And I remember a little while ago, I took up the austerity. It was attractive to me, and it helped me, of chanting 2 rounds on the top of every hour. And that's why I got the cuckoo clock, was to remind me, time to chant, time to chant. And then I stopped doing that and got involved in maintaining things and interacting with people and going here and going there. But I want to take that up again and do it for a week. In other words, if I think I have to just do this forever, I won't be able to do it. At least, not yet. So I'm tiptoeing in. So I'm thinking. So it's clear to me, 1 week out of every month I want to do this watermelon fast. That's really clear to me. This was the 2nd month, and it has so many benefits. One of them is you lose weight, and that feels good. Nice flat stomach, and you know, everything all cleared out. And, you know, your energy is flowing, and it feels really good. Mind is clear. You know, it feels really good, and you lose weight. You know, there's a lot of impurities stored up in the fat cells. So as you lose weight, you know, so physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it feels good to fast. It's an age-old practice. I mean, Christians know the benefits of fasting. They know it well. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So this austerity, I'm going to do it at the top of every hour. Chant 2 rounds and do it for a week. And then I'll have to see where to go. So this is practicing regulated austerities. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. For me, it's a little bit like uncharted waters. You know, it's like my own independent study of how to please my spiritual master. Because what does he want? He wants to deliver his disciples and his followers to Kṛṣṇa. So there are plenty of devotees now, lots and more, who are involved in community development, and they're doing a slam-bang job. I've been watching these video interviews, Ramda, Namras. They're fantastic. All the issues that the 2nd generation is taking on, and some of the older generation also, who's able to tune in on it. And the community development, it's happening. Which is nice. That leaves me free. I don't have to go there. They're doing all the work. They're taking that path of renunciation. They're doing all of that for Kṛṣṇa. So that leaves me free to do this other path. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram. So let's read a little something here before it's the top of the hour again. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Krishna Chaitanya. So, Krishna Chaitanya. This is Lord Krishna's daily activities. As a summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta. Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society, and foremost preacher of Krishna consciousness, Jagadguru. Lord Krishna's daily activities. Kṛṣṇa. From the Vedic mantras we learn that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to do. Na tasya karyam kranam chavijite. If the Supreme Lord has nothing to do, then how can we speak of the activities of the Supreme Lord? From the previous chapter, it is clear that no one can act in the way that Lord Kṛṣṇa does. This was a description of Narada visiting 16,108 palaces in Dwarka, where Kṛṣṇa was manifest in each one simultaneously, acting differently in each of the palaces. We should clearly note this fact. The activities of the Lord should be followed, but they cannot be imitated. For example, Krishna's ideal life as a householder can be followed, but if one wants to imitate Kṛṣṇa by expanding it to many forms, that's not possible. We should always remember, therefore, that Lord Kṛṣṇa, although playing the part of a human being, nevertheless simultaneously maintains the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can follow Lord Kṛṣṇa's dealings with his wives as an ordinary human being, but his dealing with more than 16,000 wives at one time cannot be imitated. The conclusion is that to become ideal householders, we should follow in the footsteps of Lord Kṛṣṇa as he displayed his daily activities, but we cannot imitate him at any stage of our life. That is the kind of renunciation that most people will have access to, is household life, making their home a temple, and family and children and communities, and that is the path of renunciation that most people will take up, but not everyone. Not everyone. Not me. I can't do that path. I've tried. I can't do that path. This path, the other type of renunciation, is just focusing on hearing and chanting, and Maharaj Parikshit fasting on the bank of the Ganges, waiting for death, and hearing intensely. That's more what I'm inclined to, especially at this older age. Lord Kṛṣṇa used to lie down with his 16,000 wives, but also he would rise up from bed very early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise. By nature's arrangement, the crowing of the cocks warns of the Brahmamurta hour. There is no need of alarm clocks. As soon as the cocks crow early in the morning, it is to be understood it's time to rise from bed. Hearing that sound, Kṛṣṇa would get up from bed, but his rising early was not very much to the liking of his wives. The wives of Kṛṣṇa were so much attached to him that they would lie in bed embracing him, but as soon as the cocks crowed, Kṛṣṇa's wives would be very sorry and would immediately condemn the crowing. In the garden within the compound of each palace, there were parijata flowers. Parijata is not an artificial flower. We remember that Kṛṣṇa brought the parijata trees from heaven and implanted them in all his palaces. Early in the morning, a mild breeze would carry the aroma of the Parijata flower, and Kṛṣṇa would smell it. Kṛṣṇa! I must be allergic to the Parijata flower. Early in the morning, a mild breeze would carry the aroma of the Parijata flower, and Kṛṣṇa would smell it just after rising from bed. Due to this aroma, the honeybees would begin their humming vibration, and the birds also would begin their sweet chirping sounds. Altogether, it would sound like the singing of professional chanters engaged in different prayers to Kṛṣṇa. Although Srimati Rukmini Devi, the first queen of Lord Kṛṣṇa, knew that Brahma Murta is the most auspicious time in the entire day, she would feel disgusted at the appearance of Brahma Murta, because she was not very happy to have Kṛṣṇa leave her side in bed. Despite Srimati Rukmini Devi's disgust, Lord Kṛṣṇa would immediately get up from bed exactly on the appearance of Brahma Murta. An ideal householder should learn from the behavior of Lord Kṛṣṇa how to rise early in the morning, however comfortably he may be lying in bed embraced by his wife. After rising from bed, Lord Kṛṣṇa would wash his mouth, hands, and feet, and would immediately sit down and meditate on himself. This does not mean, however, that we should also sit down and meditate on ourselves. We have to meditate upon Kṛṣṇa, Radha Kṛṣṇa. That is real meditation. Kṛṣṇa is Kṛṣṇa himself. Therefore, he was teaching us that Brahma Murta should be utilized for meditation on Radha Kṛṣṇa. By doing so, Kṛṣṇa would feel very much satisfied, and similarly, we also will feel transcendently pleased and satisfied if we utilize Brahma Murta period to meditate on Radha and Kṛṣṇa, and if we think how Sri Rukmini Devi and Kṛṣṇa acted as ideal householders to teach the whole human society to rise early in the morning and immediately engage in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. There is no difference between meditating on the eternal forms of Radha Kṛṣṇa and chanting the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna. I'll repeat that again. There is no difference between meditating on the eternal forms of Radha Kṛṣṇa and chanting the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna. As for Krishna's meditation, he had no alternative but to meditate on himself. The object of meditation is Brahman, Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Kṛṣṇa himself is all three. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. The localized Paramatma is his plenary partial expansion, and the all-pervading Brahman effulgence is the personal rays of his transcendental body. Therefore, Kṛṣṇa is always one, and for him there is no differentiation. Interesting, there's a Hebrew prayer I remember hearing growing up in that culture, and it always captivated me. The best part of the ceremonies and services that I liked was the chanting. I didn't understand it. It was mostly in Hebrew, but it had that spiritual sound to it. Uh-oh, time to chant. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So it's Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. I forget the rest. Echad, something Echad. And roughly the translation here, O Israel, the Lord is one. So it's interesting because actually there's a branch of Judaism that's very mystical, very, very mystical. What we mostly see is the conservative and the reformed branches where it's like a social, very social, community development, religion, but there is a very mystical practice. And I've seen some videos where they're taking up the chanting with harmonium of their mantras in little like satsanga groups. So, hear, O Israel, the Lord is one. I always thought that meant, oh, all the different religions are talking about the same God. But here, we get to understand a little bit different about that oneness in terms of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Here, Shravanam, Shema, the Lord is one. So I guess finish this little paragraph and then, finish the paragraph and do the 2 rounds. Therefore, Lord Krishna is one, and for him there's no differentiation. That's the difference between an ordinary living being and Kṛṣṇa. For an ordinary living being, there are many distinctions. An ordinary living being is different from his body. He's different from other species of living entities. A human being is different from other human beings and different from the animals. Even in his own body, there are different bodily limbs. We have hands and legs, but our hands are different from our legs. The hand cannot act like the leg, nor can the leg act like the hand. The eyes cannot hear like the ears, nor can the ears see like the eyes. All these differences are technically called svachatiya, svachya, vijtiya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Lance, no watermelons. Oh my goodness. Krishna. Krishna's funny, isn't he? When I went to that little group chanting, that little bhajan session the other day, I was still fasting, and the hostess, she had prepared prasadam for everyone after the chanting, and she heard that I, was fasting and just eating watermelon. So she had a little watermelon, some cut up that she had offered. And so she said, well, look, here, I have some for you. So I was like, oh, good, I'll be able to take prasadam with everyone with the watermelon. But I think it was from like 3 or 4 days ago. And it was all rotten. Rotten watermelon, it's like really sour and nasty. So she'd had it in the refrigerator. She doesn't like watermelon, but she'd offered it to her deities. So she was so happy so it was all rotten. So I had to politely, it had to be taken by the compost pile. I couldn't eat it. So Krishna's funny, I get all excited. Wow, watermelon, and then it was rotten. And so now you can't find any. Well, we'll see how strong your desire is to do this. And Krishna manifest a watermelon for you. Now you could order one online, but the shipping might be pretty expensive. Krishna. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda